Football Scoreboard is presented by Pizza Hut. The stuffed crust pizza now with more melty cheese. Get America's favorite pizza, Pizza Hut.
Game of the day was in Lexington, Kentucky taking on Tennessee. Cats had lost 22 in a row to the Vols. They were down 31-14 at one point. It rallied to 31-28, less than a minute to go, and Andre Woodson was almost picked off by Eric Berry. But the Vols can't close the deal. Vols have to win the game to go to the SEC Championship. With about 10 to go, Raphael Little stopped on the doorstep, and Rich Brooks has to use his final timeout. Next snap, Woodson implored Brooks to let him try one more time to win it. He bobbled the snap, threw off the timing and the rhythm, and missed a wide open Keenan Burton in the end zone, and Kentucky had to settle for overtime. In overtime, Cats up 38-31. Eric Ainge, Gerald Jones, oh, the freshman, what a catch. Tied at 38, second overtime. Ainge throws it up, and Kentucky, the defense makes a play to give him a chance, Mark.
Now, this is what you practice in practice. The tip drill. Someone tips it, someone intercepts it, and Kentucky does.
22 straight time the Cats have fallen to the Volunteers, and this is what happens when you lose to somebody 22 times in a row. The game-winning field goal attempt was blocked. Eventually, Eric Berry would be hauled down by his face mask. Kentucky didn't care about that. They just had to get him on the ground so he didn't win the game, and we would play on into the third overtime. Tennessee, in the third overtime, as you know, by rule, you must attempt a two-point conversion. So in a 44-44 game, Vols to win it? No, sir. Arian Foster, and then he's called for unsportsmanlike for throwing the ball around 15 yards back. So Tennessee now starts on the 40 instead of the 25, and Eric Ainge answers that, Lou.
Well, what happens? The outside receiver runs a stop route, the corner jumps him, and they allow the man to go right up the seam, wide open.
Quentin Hancock scores it. Ainge threw 7 touchdown passes when you include all the ones in overtime. And why wouldn't you? That's what they do, and they keep up with the stats. Tennessee up 52-50. They made their two-point conversion. Cats scored a touchdown. They needed to get the 2 to push it to a 5th overtime. Woodson, if he had taken off immediately, might have had a chance, but the Vols tracked him down, and the streak goes to 23 in a row for Tennessee over Kentucky, and the Volunteers are on their way to Atlanta to face LSU in the SEC championship game, though, as mentioned, it was a little hairy at times, but Ainge gets Tennessee there. Alabama and Auburn, both teams a little bit disappointing down the stretch. How do you see this game tonight, Mark?
If John Parker Wilson can protect the football and not turn it over, Alabama has a big chance to win.
All right, it will be the showdown here on ABC, Missouri and Kansas. We'll keep you up to date on everything. Time to go to Auburn.
Welcome to ESPN's Rivalry Week, presented by Remington.
Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama, where we expect close to 100,000 rabid fans for the 72nd renewal of one of the great rivalries in all of sports. This is the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn. This year with no SEC or national title implications, it is still the most important game in the world to these fans. And loyalties divide the state, communities, and even families.
I'm Samantha Thompson, and I'm from Alabama.
And I'm Chuck Thompson, and I'm from Auburn. War Eagle.
Tide.
I'm Brooks Lambert. I'm an Alabama graduate.
I'm Sally Lambert, and I'm an Auburn graduate. We are a house divided.
Samantha, when we were dating, I told you I've been loving Auburn a lot longer than I've been loving you.
In 1948, we renewed the rivalry. You didn't show up.
Pettis takes to the air. He shoots a beauty to Avenger at the 5, who goes on over to score. And Alabama wins this first game in the renewed football rivalry.
Well, what about 1972? Punt, Bama, punt.
Auburn going after it. Here's a good snap. It is blocked. It is blocked. It's caught on the run. It's caught on the run. He's going to score. David Wagner.
1985, the kick, Van Tiffen.
There is the snap, the kick. It is in the air. It has Tiffen. It's good. Alabama has beaten Auburn.
Last year, 2006, 5 straight.
Cox lobs it up for the end zone for Rodriguez. He goes up. He's got it. Does he have it? Touchdown, Auburn! Auburn Tigers are going to win their 5th in a row.
We are the Lambert family, and we are a house divided.
We are the Thompsons, and it's a Saturday in Dixie.
It's the Auburn Tigers, the Crimson Tide. Round here you gotta choose your side. 'Cause it's War Eagle, fly down the field. Never to conquer, never to yield. It's Ramajama, yellow
Game Time on ESPN is brought to you by Hampton Hotels. Standing room only at Jordan-Hare for the Iron Bowl. Alabama and Auburn for the 72nd time. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patrick, Todd Blackledge. It's great to have you with us. The people in this state have been talking about this game for 365 days, and the second it's over, they'll be talking about next year. This game in Alabama still means everything.
It's one of the great rivalries in all of college football, and there's a few things that set it apart, Mike. First of all, it's usually close. 16 of the last 19 decided by 10 points or less. The fan bases for these two schools are second to none in terms of passion for their teams, and then the fact that it's an in-state rivalry, familiarity among the players. These guys, some of them played against each other in high school, some played together in all-star games. All of that adds to the intensity of this game.
You played in rivalry games when you were at Penn State against Pittsburgh. That was a big one every year. What's the emotion like in these games?
Oh, it's sky high. I mean, you're jacked up before the game. You want that emotion. You want to feed off of it, but you also have to play under control, especially if you're a quarterback in a game like this. Sometimes, quite honestly, the best thing that can happen to you, get hit in the mouth early on, shake it off and say, all right, let's go play football.
Getting hit in the mouth might happen tonight.
Absolutely.
At least a couple of times. Waiting on the teams to come out. Alabama in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, but they can solve everything with a win tonight. That's what their fans will remember under their first-year coach, Nick Saban. They are 6-5 coming in, a disappointment after they got started so well. A lot of people said, hey, Alabama is back, but Nick Saban knew that wasn't correct, that he still had a ways to go. But you know, with all the success he has had, he will make a difference with the Crimson Tide. And here comes Alabama to face a hostile crowd at Jordan-Hare. And it's a test of who will come out first. Here comes Auburn. Gamesmanship before we start. Huge rivalries tonight on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. The losers will hang their heads. The winners will celebrate.
The best. Now you're being put to the test. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Now you're on your own. We gon' see who regulates and who gets to celebrate. I just wanna celebrate. I wanna celebrate. I just wanna
celebrate. ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Phillips Norelco. Sense and simplicity. And Guinness Draft. Please drink responsibly.
Of all the great traditions in the South in college football, this is the one that touches me the most. The War Eagle Nova flying down on the field here for the Iron Bowl, the 72nd renewal of the series between Alabama and Auburn. 100,000 people in the stands here, millions more watching on television, and a lot of people watching from the 1203rd Engineering Battalion in Balad, Iraq. They are stationed out of Dothan, Alabama. And some are Bama fans and some are Tiger fans. Here's some of the things they'll be seeing tonight in Iraq. We'll take a look at some of the great memories from this storied rivalry. And is the Iron Bowl the best rivalry in college football? Todd will give us his best 5. And of course, the culinary tour will continue with Todd's Taste of the Town. First question that Nick Saban asked us when we interviewed him on the phone. Todd, where are you eating, buddy?
Yeah.
Did you patent that by any chance?
No, unfortunately, I did not. It might have been a good idea.
Auburn will kick to Alabama. Jonathan Lowe and DJ Hall are deep. Javier Arenas is out with an injury. He's their tremendous kick returner. And here comes Lowe. Up to the 25. Let's check in with Holly.
Guys, you can't believe the emotions down here on the field. It is crazy, and it's been a big emotional lift for Alabama as they got back 5 players who were suspended for 4 games for the improper receipt of textbooks. Now, Coach Nick Saban told me before the game, this gives them a huge boost because of the depth issues they've been having due to injury on the offensive line. Marlon Davis, Antoine Caldwell back, and will be a big help. Perhaps most importantly, though, Glenn Coffey to give them depth at tailback because Terry Grant has been so banged up.
And Holly, Coffey is out there right now.
Coffey's going to start out the game. He's a bigger back at 6'2", 197, a little more powerful than Terry Grant or Jonathan Lowe or Roy Upchurch, other backs we might see tonight. Very important for Alabama to run the football with some success tonight.
Out of the eye behind John Parker Wilson. Coffey, big hole up the middle, and he pounds ahead to the 34 to tell us about that Alabama offense. Here's Alabama grad Brooks Lambert.
For the Alabama offense, starting at quarterback, the Hoover, Alabama native, John Parker Wilson. His favorite target is wide receiver DJ Hall, who owns 7 different records, including career receptions for the Crimson Tide. The offensive line is led by Andre Smith, who's from the Iron City of Birmingham, the place that gave the Iron Bowl its name.
That handoff nearly fumbled, and the strong safety, Zach Etheridge, was at the line of scrimmage and came up and stuffed it.
Well, right away, a 3rd down situation for John Parker Wilson and the Alabama offense. This has been a sore spot for them this year. When they've won games, they've been effective on 3rd down. When they've lost games, in their 5 losses, only 29% conversion rate.
They'll empty the backfield as Coffey goes out as a wide receiver. Auburn looked a little confused on defense. They come with a 4-man rush, and they knock it down. Eric Brock to tell us about the Auburn defense. Here's Brooks' wife, Sally.
For the Auburn defense, on the defensive line, sophomore Antonio Coleman leads the team with 7 sacks. At linebacker, the playmaker Trey Blackman is also a sophomore. And senior Patrick Lee leads a secondary that has 11 interceptions in the last 8 games.
And the 11th ranked defense in the country, which Auburn is this week, forces a 3-and-out. The punt to Dunn.
Very short.
He makes a fair catch up near the 35-yard line. 43-yard kick, no return. Good job by Auburn in the opening series.
One of the things we're going to see from Auburn tonight, a lot of movement and shifts. They had an extra week. Very unusual to have an open week before this Alabama game. But that extra time, and plus their familiarity with Nick Saban's defense, a lot of shifting in motion, particularly with their tight ends, trying to confuse the Alabama defense. Here's one right away.
You saw Tommy Tuberville with that tremendous record against Alabama, 6-2. Immediately, Brad Lester gets some running room off the right side. To tell us about the Tiger offense, here's Auburn fan Chuck Thompson.
At quarterback for the mighty Auburn Tigers is Brandon Cox, the left-hander from Trussville, Alabama. He'll be handing the ball off to Brad Lester, who averages a touchdown every 14 carries. The offensive line is young with 3 true freshmen starting: Chaz Ramsey, Lee Zimba, and Ryan Pugh.
Rashad Jackson is the injured Alabama player. He's been down on a knee and hasn't been able to get up on his own since the end of the play.
And he's their leading tackler with 76 tackles coming into the game. Has had an outstanding season. Also leads the team with 6 interceptions. So good to see him back up off the ground.
And that's 6 interceptions, is tied for 4th in the country. So he is huge for their defense in terms of turnovers.
Rod Smith came in and just cocked. And there it is, that early hit in the mouth, you know. Welcome to the Iron Bowl. That's what it is right there. Rashad Johnson getting checked out. Probably see him back very soon.
Got decleated. Cox changing the play. Lester wants the new play and the snap count. And he'll get it. Same play, better result. He's up to the 48-yard line. Here's the Crimson Tide defense. Chuck White Samantha does the honors.
The Alabama defensive line is anchored by Wallace Gilberry. The senior leads the Tide with 9 sacks this season. For the linebackers, senior Darren Mustin had a career-high 14 tackles last week. And senior cornerback Simeon Castile is from Birmingham and playing in his 47th career game. Roll Tide, roll!
They did a very good job with that, didn't they?
They did.
Cox out in the flat, Mario Fannin. This is what makes Auburn so effective, Todd. You pointed it out early in the season. If they can run just enough, then the play action works.
Well, it helps everything. When you run the football effectively, it really helps your pass protection. And then it really helps Brandon Cox because the strength of his game as a quarterback is play action pass. He's a very good ball handler. He's a good, accurate, medium range thrower. And all that works well when you're running the football with some success.
Overall, Auburn isn't even in the top 100 in offense this year. It has been basically a run-oriented offense and a solid defense that's helped them to a 7-4 record. And this time, no dice, and that's down. Brad Lester was spun to the ground by Mustin, who just about spiked him.
Darren Mustin, as we heard in the lineups, a career-high 14 tackles last week in that frustrating loss to Louisiana Monroe, but he has really played well all season. Just a real success story, a guy who was kind of a walk-on guy who kept working and has been one of the real leaders on this Alabama defense this season.
Transferred from Middle Tennessee State and walked on, paid his own way to play football in Alabama. Cox, another good play fake. Has a man wide open, but throws it to the point when Cole Bennett makes the catch and has to go to a knee.
And Alabama was pretty lucky that time that he did slip down to the knee because he had some room in front of him. The misdirection on the bootleg, second time Brandon Cox has had somebody open off of that misdirection. Again, you run the football with some success. Linebackers watch that run, and then tight ends come out the backside on the bootleg.
It'll still be 3rd and long. Auburn in its opening possession. Doing some motion, something they haven't shown a lot this year, trying to cross up the Alabama defense. Cox straight back, plenty of time. Unloads, and that's going to be oh so close to a first down. Look at the spot. They need to reach the 29-yard line. Looks like they're going to give them the 29.5. McClain and Mustin, the linebackers, made the tackle. Well, this is either go for it territory or long field goal.
Yeah. Wes Byram's long this season, 49 yards. I think at home you go for it here. I think, yeah, I do. Your defense has been outstanding for the most part.
Length of a football, they say. No sign of the punt team.
Yeah, the problem sometimes with a long field goal like this, the opportunity to get a block increases the longer the field goal attempt is. I think this is a safer call for Tommy Tuberville right here, quite honestly.
Hollier also tells us it is very windy on the field. We can see the streamers on top of the uprights have the wind at Auburn's back. And Casey Cox, the quarterback keeper, no problem.
Right behind his leader, the center, Jason Bosley, the leader of this very young Auburn offensive line. He's a junior, but there are 3 true freshmen starting on that offensive line. Now, at this point in the season, they're not freshmen anymore because they've been playing almost the whole year, and they've played very well. But Jason Bosley
is kind of the glue that holds that offensive line together, and Cox ran right over his backside that time for the first down.
Bosley said, in this state, you are remembered for what you do in the Iron Bowl. That's it. Lester. Nice cut. Castillo has him around the ankles, but can't stop him until he picks up nearly 9 yards. Tyrone Green with a good block. Andrew McCain with a good block on the pull.
Nice job by Lester reading the holes. Good blocking by the wide receivers for Auburn. They're bringing them back inside against the linebackers, working downfield, and Lester, probably the most explosive of the Auburn trio of tailbacks that we'll see tonight.
Now Alabama temporarily at least losing another defender. Ezekiel Knight, the strong side linebacker, limping off. One thing about Lester, he missed the first half of the season. He was in academic suspension. Finally got that in order, and he has been a big part of this offense. Who knows what they might have been able to do had he been able to play the entire year. Ben Tate is in as the new running back. And Tate will get a carry. Hitting the backfield, spins off a tackle. Mustin had him in the backfield, couldn't control him. Let's take a look at tonight's X Factor, presented by Dell.
Well, in this ball game for Alabama, I think they need to win the running game. And right now Auburn is holding that edge. But the winner of this game, the last 8 times, has rushed for the most yards. For Auburn, they must win turnovers. When they have lost games this year, they have been horrible in the turnover margin. When they win games, they take care of the football. It's a very simple formula for the Auburn Tigers.
Tate now left alone, 7 yards behind center is the tailback, and he'll get the toss. They like something on the right side. They've run there frequently. And Todd, you mentioned this is such a physical game every year between these two teams. It'll be the most physical game they play. So if you win the running game, that falls right in line.
Yeah, and one of the reasons Auburn is having success early on running it is because they're doing a lot of this shifts of the tight end and motion. Why are they doing that? It's something they've done in the past, but not as much this year. It's because with Will Muschamp being the defensive coordinator who used to be with Nick Saban, they've been able to lean on him and understand Alabama's defense. And Alabama's defense is predicated on where the tight end lines up. That's how they set their defense and set all their checks on the defensive side. Therefore, more motion tonight.
Cox draw play to Tate inside the 5. Dragging tacklers with him. Tate still on his feet. That'll be first and goal, Tigers.
Tate comes in a little bigger back, 215 pounds, files a nice block by Tommy Trott, who lined up in the backfield, number 5. And right now, Auburn just overpowering the Alabama defense on this opening drive. Again, they had a week off. Alabama played last week.
11 plays, 63 yards on the drive. Tate again, first and goal, lowers his shoulder to the goal line. Touchdown, Auburn. A little distraction at 4 a.m. in Iraq for the Auburn fans. And that was a 12-play, 66-yard drive, and they basically shoved it right down their throat.
Yeah, I think they threw 3 times, maybe a couple bootlegs, and the one pass to the tight end that got him close to the first down.
West Byron for the point after. And Auburn at home in front of 100,000 is on top 7-0 first quarter. ESPN's College Football Primetime is available on ESPN HD, presented by Pioneer Kuro HD TV. Auburn has now scored touchdowns in 6 of its last 8 opening drives. That one went 65 yards in 12 plays. Took almost 5.5 minutes off the clock. Lowe and DJ Hall are again deep to receive. Byron to kick for Auburn. Lowe from the 1. swallowed up shy of the 20. Time now for tonight's Rivalry Notebook presented by Sonic. This is the 76th game in this series. Unbelievably almost, they didn't play from 1908 to 1947, basically because of an issue about per diem. Yeah. One school wanted $3.50 a day, the other one wanted $3 a day. They had a problem with an official, and they didn't play for 41 years, over 50 cents a player. Are you kidding?
It's the Iron Bowl, man.
It's the cheapskate bowl for 41 years. How does Alabama respond? They want to grind out a few first downs themselves.
Well, they respond, first of all, with a 5-yard penalty because they were not set in a proper formation. And they'll back them up 5.
Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, Todd, you were talking about that extra movement that Auburn is using on their offensive line. Well, Nick Saban just addressed his defense. He told them, look, guys, only 2 guys shifted. He is known for his very complicated system, but right now he's pointing out to his players that it doesn't have to be that complicated. He's trying to make sure that this motion is not confusing his defense. Guys, he went over at length just trying to simplify what they're seeing, and he said, hey, even if this guy's moving, we shouldn't be down in there. He really wants them to pay better attention and not overthink it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Holly, because the point is, too, you expect to see something new, a new wrinkle early in the game. Well, now they've seen it, and the next time they come on the field, they should be much more comfortable with what they're doing.
2nd and 8, John Parker Wilson to the shotgun. Wilson on the keeper.
Boy, nice play.
It was out to the 29-yard line.
That's the little zone read. You know, you haven't seen Alabama run this play. Ironically, Nick Saban told me on the field before the game, this is what Louisiana Monroe did to him, and they had a hard time stopping that offense. That little quarterback run out of the shotgun. Alabama tried to line up and go no huddle, and the officials called a timeout, I think, to measure.
It's been since 1997 that Auburn has scored in the first quarter, or Alabama scored in the first quarter against Auburn, which is not good.
You know, the thing about that Auburn scoring drive, too, I mean, you talk about the turnaround that Auburn has had this season offensively. In the first 4 games, they had 1 scoring drive of at least 10 plays. Well, now that was their 14th scoring drive of 8 plays or more, or of 10 plays or more in the last 8 games. So, I mean, the first 4 games, they couldn't sustain the football. Yeah. They were terrible on 3rd down. They couldn't protect the football. And ever since then, they really have played pretty well offensively. They had some problems against Georgia in their last game, turning it over 4 Brandon Cox interceptions, but they have moved the football extremely well.
Out of the eye this time with 2 wide receivers. Wilson under pressure and throws incomplete, intended for Travis McCall, the tight end, and Derek Marks had a beat on him and really gave him a shot.
Yeah, hit him right in the jaw and also knocked his hand warmer right off his waist. So those are the kind of shots that you remember. John Parker Wilson trying to set. He just ran right around Caldwell. Now again, Antoine Caldwell, number 59, is playing right tackle. He started the season as the starting center, and he's one of those 5 guys that's been suspended for 4 games. That time he didn't play very well against Derek Marks.
He was on the Remington preseason list as the best center in the country. They moved him to tackle because they felt they really needed him out there. And Coffey grinds out a couple of yards before Chris Evans, the leading tackler on this team, made the stop.
And that's a big difference. I mean, they made the move because they feel this gives them their best 5 guys up front. But when you're a center, you're used to having guys on both shoulders. You're used to having help all the time in there. When you're a tackle, you're out on the edge. And if you're going against a good pass rusher who knows it's a passing situation, that's a whole different deal than a guy who's played center.
3rd and long. They stack wide receivers to the far side, and that's split backs. Blitz coming. And they got there. They got there as a group. Pat Sims led the way. That is his 3rd sack of the season, and a great time for Auburn.
And this time it's Pat Sims who's playing over the center, Evan Cardwell, who just blows right in there and gets the sack. 95 Sims just whips the center and comes right up the middle at the quarterback, and Marks is there to finish him off. But it was the pressure initially from Pat Sims that caused the problem.
P.J. Fitzgerald will punt. And Dunn, number 3, drops back to his 37-yard line. Nice high kick and a fair catch made at the 40. 37-yard kick, no return. It's Auburn on top of arch rival Alabama.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here. And in part by Hyundai Big Duh Holiday Sales Event. The same great cars and great deals.
Welcome back to Jordan-Hare Stadium. Our aerial coverage for tonight's game, courtesy of the Outback Steakhouse Airship. Bloomin' Onion One, specializing in sports coverage all year. Look for the Bloomin' Onion One at sporting events all over the country. Auburn has controlled both sides of the ball so far.
And they look like the more confident team, and they look like the fresher team. I mean, they look quicker and more sharp than Alabama in the early going here.
Cox rifles that one down the middle, and it's caught by Smith. Rodriguez Smith with a 32-yard gain. Lionel Mitchell made the tackle, and Cox got that ball there just in time.
First time they've thrown the ball down the field. They go off play action. He sets, he throws on time. Rashad Johnson, the safety, in position just a little late trying to make the play. And Rod Smith, their go-to guy, makes a big play down the seam of the defense. Every other throw to this point has been short. That one right down the heart of the defense. They just brought the safety up right here, and that's why Brandon Cox is changing the play.
Lester straight up the middle, still driving down to the 22-yard line. Let's check in with Reese Davis. A 30 at 30 update.
All right, Mike, coaching carousel is spinning at full tilt. Nebraska says enough with Bill Callahan. They sent him on his way. A 15-minute meeting with Tom Osborne's all that took. And Ole Miss, they've also had enough of Coach O after he went 0 for the SEC this year. Tennessee going to the SEC championship game. Took them 4 overtimes to beat Kentucky. They survived 52-50. Sports Center after the game. Stay current with ESPN News.
All right, Reese, thanks very much. Auburn, 2nd and 5, driving again against Alabama. Lester near the 20. Todd Funny, nothing on Houston Nutt as yet, and all the rumors said he would be gone as of last night, but they didn't figure on him beating Alabama or beating LSU, did they?
No, they didn't figure on him beating the #1 team in the country, and they didn't figure on them finishing 8-4 and probably going to the Cotton Bowl. I'd say there's a great chance that's where Arkansas ends up in Frank Broyles' last year as athletic director. So very interesting to see what happens over in Fayetteville.
Third down, about 3. Cox, good protection. Throws. That ball was nearly picked off by Castile.
Simeon Castillo is one of those corners who just has great ball instincts. He makes big plays. He's a guy who gets picks. He forces fumbles. He strips balls because he's a football player who has great instincts. Of course, his father, Jeremiah, was an All-American cornerback for Bear Bryant at Alabama. Great player for the Broncos. And he has those same kind of instincts around the ball.
That'll bring on Wes Bynum for the field goal try at 37 yards. And Bynum drills it through. 16 out of 20 this year for the hero of the Florida game. Excuse me, Wes Byron. My apology. With rivalry week coming to an end, what's the best rivalry? We'll have Todd's top 5 when we come back.
ESPN salutes the Southeastern Conference. 75 years of excellence in collegiate athletics.
Boy, it's been a banner year for the SEC as well. 10 teams are eligible from this conference to go to bowl games. There are 8 automatic tie-ins, so somebody might end up being left out in the cold even though they are bowl eligible. Just being eligible doesn't mean you'll get a bowl. I hope Mississippi State gets a good bowl. Sylvester Croom has done a wonderful job down there.
Well, he beat both of these teams, Auburn and Alabama.
Amazing,
that's quite a feat for anybody in the SEC West.
Yeah. Jonathan Lowe got a seam. Lowe up to the 47-yard line.
Well, that's what Alabama needed too, because one area that's been a real Achilles heel for Auburn this year, as good as their defense have been, their kickoff coverage has not been very good. And even though they don't have Arenas in the game, Jonathan Lowe makes up for it. Hits a good seam, good blocking at the point of attack for Auburn. Key block in there by Travis McCall, number 83, a backup tight end. And Alabama with excellent field position.
Gerard Powers with the solid tackle at the end of it to save a further advance. Coffey remains as the running back.
Trying to get DJ Hall.
DJ Hall involved in the offense. Hall's been a tremendous receiver, but they haven't thrown the ball that well, so any opportunity to get DJ Hall the ball is a good one.
Well, you want to get him involved early because he is definitely a difference maker on your football team. He was suspended for the first half of the game last week against Louisiana Monroe, played in the second half, but he has had a monster season, 60 catches and 6 touchdowns.
Blitz coming, flags are down. Well, the Alabama fans would argue that nobody for Alabama played in the second half last week. And it looked like it was Cardwell who moved early.
Prior to the snap, false start, 78. Offense, 5-yard penalty, remain second down.
And to say Mike Johnson 78 instead of Cardwell 70.
Those are costly penalties too. You have second and short, you've got a lot of options, and now you're back at 2nd and 8. You just can't afford, when you're on a 3-game losing streak, even though you've not been penalized very much, can't afford those tonight.
Coffey got a good block, but that was a solid defensive play by Antonio Coleman, who's been a real find for them. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, this offensive line for Alabama is very different than what we saw early in the year against Arkansas and Georgia. They are discombobulated. They're just not firing on all cylinders and playing as a unit. Andre Smith, the left tackle, is the only guy who has started at the same position every game this year. And poor Antoine Caldwell, he's started at 4 different positions now. Guys, they just don't have that continuity that you like to see on an offensive line right now.
Yeah, Caldwell looks different to me at right tackle. He looks like he is not sure where he's supposed to go.
3rd and 3, pressure coming. And the pass is overthrown, intended for Hall. Flag is down. Wilhite had the coverage, and Wilhite upset because he thinks they're going to call interference on him. And they are.
Well, there was definitely pushing and shoving, and DJ Hall is probably going to get the benefit of that. It was a catchable pass, but kind of an iffy call.
I mean, it looked like he gave as much as he got.
It's one of those Michael Jordan rule type deals,
sir.
you know?
Yes, sir.
The all-star, the all-conference player gets the call. What a benefit for Alabama, though.
Wilhite certainly got the worst of that. Be a first down at the 31. Coffey, nice move. And Coffey's down to the 24-yard line, gain of 7 before middle linebacker Troy Blackman can bring him down.
I think for Alabama, the best place to run the football is going to be to that left side behind big Andre Smith. As Holly said, he's the only guy who started every game at the same position, and he is their best offensive lineman. He's just a sophomore, but at 6'5", 340 pounds, very athletic, very light on his feet. And Marlon Davis, the left guard, had been a starter at that position before he was suspended.
Coffee. And certainly he appears that he's going to get the bulk of the carries. And although he doesn't look a lot bigger than the other guys in the backfield, he certainly seems to run bigger.
Yeah, he does. He runs with his pad level a little bit lower, initiates a little more contact. And that's what you need in a game like this, because this is a physical football game. And the better that Alabama can run, the better their pass protection will be for John Parker Wilson. You know, I was here, this is my 4th Iron Bowl that I've broadcasted, and I was here 2 years ago when Brody Croyle was the quarterback for Alabama, and Auburn sacked him a school record 11 times. And part of that is when you shut down a team's running game, you can really pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. And that's what Auburn has been able to do to Alabama the last couple of years in this rivalry. Will Muschamp, the defensive coordinator, 2nd year here at Auburn. He was with Nick Saban at LSU, and then also for the 1 year with the Dolphins in 2005. Very familiar with Nick's system, but also very appreciative of what Nick has done and meant to him in his career. Said he wouldn't be where he is today without Nick Saban.
First down from the 21 out of the eye. Auburn showing blitz. Got an 8-man front, and when they came up to show that 8-man front, somebody on the Alabama line moved.
Yeah, and they just got to hold their water. I mean, that was a late shift by Auburn. You got to hold in there.
False start, 76. First down.
It's Marlon Davis, the right guard. Of course, they have switched so many guys along the offensive line, and you want guys who can play different spots. But I agree with your analysis. You move a guy from center to tackle, that's a huge difference.
That's a big change. And even though he's athletic enough to play out there, it's different.
Wilson, good protection. Throws underneath, and Coffee will only get a couple of yards out of this. And that is going to be the last play of the first quarter. Well, they've enjoyed it so far. The Auburn fans seeing their club up 10-0. To ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton Hotels. 100,000 watching here. They're also watching in Iraq. The 1203rd Engineering Battalion in Balad. Their home base is Dothan, Alabama. You all stay safe over there, all right? Hope you enjoy the ball game. John Parker Wilson out of the shotgun. Coffee on the delay. Nowhere to go, down to the 20.
Why is it so important that Alabama can run the football? I'll tell you why. Because Auburn loves to play a defense where they're going to show a cover 2 shell defense all the time with 2 safeties. And as long as they can continue to do that and keep 2 safeties deep, then that is going to allow them to play combination coverages on the passing game of Alabama. They must force one of these 2 safeties right here or right here to come up and play closer to the line of scrimmage. Now, they're not on this 3rd and 8, but on rundowns, they've got to get them up closer.
Empty backfield. Blitz coming. John Parker Wilson runs away from pressure. Lost the ball. Nowhere official signal as yet. John Parker Wilson was the first guy who had a shot at it after Pat Sims had a shot at him.
And last year in the ball game in Tuscaloosa, it was 2 fumbles by John Parker Wilson caused by Quentin Groves on sacks that led to 2 early touchdowns for Auburn. This time Sims chasing the play from behind. Great hustle play by Sims. Knocked the ball loose, but Alabama not only gets it back, they get a first down out of it.
And the fumble resulted in a first down. He was at least a yard shy of the necessary distance.
There's those 2 safeties again for Auburn. You got to get one up around the line of scrimmage.
Coffee. And one of the safeties came up and made that tackle. Let's go to Reese.
All right, Mike, the showdown in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas Taco Bell studio update checking in on this Big 12 North battle. Look at Chase Daniel buying some time. Tony Temple stretching on 3rd and goal, but he stopped short. And on 4th and goal, Mizzou spreads it out and throws it. Martin Rucker's in, and the Tigers are up 7.
That should go on all night long, shouldn't it, Reese? Back and forth with those 2 great offenses. Coffee.
Good response right here by Alabama. Power into football. Again, if they can establish their running game, if they can force Auburn to play honest defensively, they can protect their quarterback, and they can get to their weapons, which I think one of their real weapons are their wide receivers. DJ Hall, Matt Caddell, Keith Brown. They could get some matchups against this Auburn secondary, but they must run the football first to open up their passing game.
3rd down, Coffee. Hitting the backfield, dives forward, he did not make it.
He was stoned right there outside the goal line.
Trey Blackman, the middle linebacker, got penetration. It's 4th down.
He is a big-time hitter. He's not overly big as a middle linebacker. 6 feet tall, 220 pounds. But when he hits you straight ahead, you go backwards. I mean, he does not slow down when he tackles.
What do you like here on 4th and a yard?
I like a timeout right now because I don't like all those faces turned over to the side. I think you got to go a little play action here with John Parker Wilson. I don't think you're going to run this thing in against Auburn from here.
They're stacked up in a tight formation. John Parker Wilson on a quick count. No signal of any kind. Auburn saying they didn't make it. Touchdown.
Oh my gosh, what a late call. John Parker Wilson just kept fighting and squirming, and Eric Brock, number 33, was trying to push him back. But credit John Parker Wilson, he just kept moving. Watch. He's going to kind of bobble the snap, but watch, he stopped right there. But he just keeps driving and pushing and shoving. He's still moving his feet and his legs. And by the time the line judge gets over there, he calls it a touchdown. Wow.
Well, they don't like it here, but they're loving it in other parts of the state of Alabama. Now, they're going to review this, and there's no way they can review this. They can look at this
I don't know how you're going to see where the ball
until the videotape wears out. Well, John Parker Wilson is number 14. You can just see the back of his jersey. Now, here come the linesmen. The umpire is right in front of the play. He's got the best view of the whole thing.
See, I thought I saw John Parker Wilson's head over the plane to the end zone, but I didn't see the ball.
Well, they see it halfway around the world. They make a better call.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's kind of dangerous going on a quick count down at the goal line, too. And they got enough of a push. They ran behind B.J. Stabler, the right guard.
Well, I don't know how you could possibly overturn this. What are you going to see?
No, there's no way. You can't do. Every shot we looked at, you couldn't see the ball.
No.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
So Alabama with a huge huge drive to get back in this game. And a huge play on 4th and 1. They get it in. A sly smile on the face of Tommy Tuberville.
And remember the snap. He barely got the snap clean and then just kept pushing and shoving. And
Tiffin with the point after. Alabama closes within a field goal. Second quarter at Auburn.
How far was Auburn's touchdown?
That 1971 game marked the only time these two great programs ever faced each other when they were undefeated and untied. And here are the longest streaks in the Iron Bowl series. Alabama with Bear Bryant won 9 in a row. Auburn has twice won 5 in a row, including the current streak. If they get the win tonight, it would be 6 in a row for Tommy Tuberville, and that would be number 1 all-time for the Tigers.
Yeah, that 9 in a row streak from Alabama was broken 25 years ago in 1982, the Bo Jackson over-the-top game.
Mario Fannin on the return for Auburn. Stumbles across the 20. Let's go to Holly.
Well, guys, believe it or not, there is a group of people who have been to every single Iron Bowl since it was resumed back in 1948. One of them, Alabama fan Dick Coffey. He is attending tonight his 712th consecutive Alabama football game. Earlier this year, we talked to him before the Arkansas game, and he'd actually had to go to the hospital and have his heart shocked to get the defibrillator going. That wasn't going to stop him. He got right back in, came in, went to the game, and hasn't missed one since, guys. That's like 60 years of football.
Great.
You haven't missed it.
That's great. Come on, I need a new battery for my defibrillator so I can go to the game. Ben Tate with a nice run out near midfield, 28 yards. That'll get your heart started.
Well, Tommy Trott, number 5, is doing a great job blocking. The tight end just turns his man out, opens up a nice seam for Ben Tate, and a loss of contain by the Alabama defense on the perimeter. Bad leverage by the Alabama defense, but credit Tommy Trott with a huge block on the edge.
Both of these teams want to run the football, and they both need to. Draw play, Tate again. Mustin was there along with McClain. Here's Reese.
All right, Mike, Missouri and Kansas again on ABC. Border showdown. Todd Reesing had Kansas on the move, down 7-0, firing it to Kerry Meyer. Backup quarterback and part-time wide receiver for the Jayhawks. And now Reesing firing into the end zone, and a terrific interception by William Moore snuffs out the threat. Missouri still leading by 7.
All right, Todd, one of those teams will be first or second in the nation by the time the evening is over. West Virginia should occupy the other spot. Hawthorne caught it out of bounds.
Yeah, he was beat. He beat Kareem Jackson, but Brandon Cox just a little bit too much to the sideline, and Hawthorne not able to come down with a foot in bounds. He had a step on Jackson, ball thrown too wide, and there you see the foot in the orange out of play.
6'3", 209, an inviting target. And there is a flag down on the play near the 40-yard line.
Against the Alabama bench, that is their first warning.
Well, I don't know who Nick's get-back coach is, but he's got to get him working over there.
Third down, Auburn has not been very good. And you find most teams that need to run the ball are not very good on 3rd and long. They're 0 for 2 tonight. Alabama shows blitz. But only come with 4. Cox Cox with room, goes to Tate. Tate's got the first down and more. 35, 30-yard line. First down, Tigers. Lionel Mitchell made the tackle.
Really nice job by Brandon Cox. Not known as a scrambler, not really a running threat, but you don't have to be an effective quarterback. You do have to be able to buy yourself time. And that's what Brandon Cox does here. There's a free rusher. He eludes that and then just flicks it out to his safety valve, Tate, who gets the first down. Keep your vision downfield, scramble to buy time, and then make a play.
Tate again. 3 yards and then push back. Let's go to Holly.
Hey guys, Brandon Cox is the Auburn quarterback, but he actually grew up just about 60 miles away from Tuscaloosa. He grew up a huge Alabama fan, and he had a terrific high school career, but the regime at that time, Dennis Franchione, just wasn't interested. His dad has told us, you know, he got passed over, but this makes it all the more sweet for the success he's had here at Auburn. He's 25-9, but more importantly, a win tonight, he could become just one of 2 quarterbacks to ever beat Alabama 3 times. Pretty good for a kid from Trussville.
Yeah, I tell you what, you can live with that for the rest of your life in these parts. You won 3 in a row in this series. Cox has been very cool this time. Didn't have a chance. Lorenzo Washington came up the middle. Cox couldn't avoid him this time.
Now that time Alabama confused the young offensive line for Auburn. Brandon Cox tried to check protections before the play, but Washington right up the middle. Again, that's the worst place you want pressure if you're a quarterback. And for Alabama now, their 17th sack in the last 7 ball games. They only had 5 in the first 5 games. They've really turned up the pressure on the quarterback over the last half of the season.
3rd and very long. From here, it would be a 52-53-yard field goal try. So they'd like to get at least part of that back. Blitz coming.
Simeon Castillo. He didn't see Simeon Castillo coming until the very end, and fortunately, he ducked, or else he might have lost his head.
Boy, fortunately is right.
Woo! Simeon Castillo coming on the corner blitz. Here he is. He's just going to get right in here, and Brandon Cox is not going to see him. He's looking at pressure inside and has no idea number 2 is coming around the outside till the very end, and very lucky that he ducked.
Well, he would have been dehorned. 2 plays cost him 19 yards on that series, and they will punt it away.
Well, that's a great defensive stand by Alabama right there. After a couple big plays, the big run by Tate, back-to-back sacks, and they get the ball back.
Shoemaker tried a pooch kick, only got it 21 yards downfield.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Saturn. With 5 totally new models, it's just something to rethink about. Saturn. And Clean Exchange, the only electric shaver with a disposable head. Clean Exchange, new from Remington.
These great aerial shots tonight, courtesy of our friends at Outback Steakhouse. Travel throughout the country for sporting events all year.
Roy Upchurch is now the new tailback for Alabama, giving Glenn Coffey a break.
With Coffey out, he and Lowe got a lot of playing time. And John Parker Wilson wants to throw on first down, and it's dropped by his tight end, Nick Walker. We talked earlier about your rivalries. What are your top 5? Who do you want?
Well, I'll tell you, I start with Georgia, Florida, which is a game I did many years. It has a bowl atmosphere, both sides with equal tickets. Oklahoma, Texas, the same way. Ohio State, Michigan, the great traditional rivalry in the Northeast. And then Alabama, Auburn. This rivalry, I think, is terrific. The best one to me, Army-Navy, is spectacular. The march on by both military groups is phenomenal to be a part of.
I thought you had a great suggestion when we were talking about it earlier today, that it should be separate and apart from all the other games. It ought to be played on a separate weekend because it gets lost in the shuffle anymore.
You know, it used to be there were no conference championship games. There was no championship Saturday, and the Army-Navy game was that last game and deserved to have that kind of stage. It doesn't have it anymore. I think it should.
And when it meant something, when they were both good, there wasn't anything like that. 3rd and about 5. Blitz coming. John Parker Wilson hangs in there and throws too high for Hall. He was over the middle but was surrounded by Auburn defenders.
Got a little antsy that time. John Parker Wilson was backpedaling. He didn't have to. Again, with the offensive line suspensions, their protection has been a little shaky the last few weeks. And the quarterback sometimes loses his trust in that protection. That's what that looked like right there. John Parker didn't think he was going to be protected. Backpedaled and kind of hurried that throw.
Did you ever lose your trust?
Yeah, it happens.
How about teeth?
No. Lost some skin on my chin. But
wow. A lot of pressure. They run into him. There's a flag.
Yeah.
Now, is it running into or roughing? It's about 5 yards.
I think that's roughing. That's personal foul.
Is.
I mean, they drilled him.
Mario Fannin looked to be the first guy there. Had a lot of company.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a couple Auburn penalties really bail Alabama out. The pass interference kept a drive going.
Yep.
And now this one is going to give Alabama the football back. I mean, they were in there in good position.
Personal foul. Roughing the kicker on the defense. 15
And when you rush the punter, that's Eddie Grand, the special teams coach. You go for a spot where the ball's coming off the foot, not for the kicker himself. They come up the middle, and they just hit the leg of the punter.
It was Mario Fannin.
Yeah.
His chest will hit the foot of Fitzgerald, and Fitzgerald does what punters do. He goes down like he was hit with a truck. Draw play, Upchurch. Well, that's a hard run, straight ahead. Ran over Bo Harris, who hung on to make the tackle.
Talking to some of the Alabama coaches, Major Applewhite, down on the field before the game, they really felt like if we can run the football and force Auburn to bring one of those safeties up to the line of scrimmage, then we can have an advantage throwing the football, because they do a great job of disguising their coverages all out of a two-safety look. There's Major right there, youngest coordinator in college football at age 29.
Upchurch, very close to the sticks. Chris Evans on the tackle.
I think Alabama has settled into this game. I think early on they did not look settled. Auburn went right down the field on their opening possession and scored. Alabama looked a little confused, a little tired, but they've got a new energy, and they look settled into the football game right now.
Let's check in with Holly.
Guys, just something interesting to note. We've seen a steady dose of Roy Upchurch and Glenn Coffey at running back for Alabama tonight. Now, Terry Grant, who's been their record-setting freshman, he's over on the sideline. He's just been kind of standing on the bench, standing without his helmet at times. He doesn't look heavily involved in the game plan right now, like he's imminently coming in. They didn't tell us before the game that he couldn't play, but they've just told us he's very banged up. But, guys, interesting that they don't have their really great punch at running back right now.
Well, how much of that, Holly, is him being banged up? How much of it is having Glenn Coffey back from that suspension for the receipt of textbooks that he wasn't supposed to get? This is about an inch on third down.
Well, the quarterback sneak for the touchdown. I'd say do the same thing for this.
And they appear to have it. Let's go to Reese, Kansas, Missouri.
And Mike, Missouri continues to move the ball very well against Kansas. Chase Daniel, again, for the second time tonight on a touchdown drive. Daniel buying some time, going all fluty on the people. Or maybe that's more Blackledge-esque with the nimble feet. Denario Alexander with a touchdown catch. Mizzou up 14-0.
All right, thank you, Reese. You don't hear Blackledge-esque connected to the running game very often, do you?
Or nimble feet. Oxymoron.
John Parker Wilson down the middle to his tight end who caught it and fumbled it. Nick Walker got it back. Are they going to say it's incomplete?
This is a beautiful throw. Nick Walker, the tight end. Again, those two deep safeties. One of the weaknesses, if they play cover two, is down the middle. Here's Walker. He's going to work right down there, and the play-action pass holds those linebackers in. They respect the run. Walker gets behind him, and John Parker Wilson puts the ball right there.
Boy, that's close.
Yeah, it's going to get looked at.
Brock comes up for one of those safety spots and nailed him. Well, there is some question of whether the ball stayed on his foot. Remember, in college football, if the ball touches the ground, whether the player has control of it or not,
did it hit the ground or his foot? It's on his foot right there. I don't think that ball ever hit the ground. And Nick Walker secures it. Major Applewhite's right next to us banging on the glass. He's upset. But I think they're going to keep this one because I don't think the ball ever hit the ground.
Oh, how about that?
That was Pele-esque. Speaking of nimble feet. That was a big-time play. Throwing it down the field, play action. Again, your running game sets up play action. Linebackers have to respect the run. If you're running with some success, that opens up some things.
They're going to tell the referee the ball stayed on his foot, and he's going to say it stayed on his what? Some catch by Nick Walker.
I think if that would have hit the ground, they would have overruled this and called it incomplete.
I do too.
But I think because of that shot and the shot that we had of that being on his foot, I think it's going to stay a catch. The hit by Brock right as he comes down, ball to the foot, never touched the ground.
It's like a running back trying to score at the goal line, and he's on top of another body, not down till it's down.
The ruling on the field stands. It was a catch.
So a huge play by Walker there to concentrate that much and go get the ball off the top of his shoe. 4:56 and counting first half. Alabama is driving down by 3. Upchurch remains in as the tailback. He'll get the carry and picks up maybe 2. Blackman, the middle linebacker, looking to the sideline for the defensive call they want on 2nd and 8. Empty backfield. Turns into 4 wide receivers. Blitz on John Parker Wilson, and down they go. Eric Brock came in to mess up the timing on the play. Brock couldn't make the tackle, but he set it up.
Well, and again, I think Antoine Caldwell, Brock's going to come from here. Watch Antoine Caldwell get lost in here at right tackle. I think he's still kind of uncomfortable where he's supposed to be. He goes all the way inside, and nobody stays outside for the outside rusher. It was not a full-blown blitz. It was a zone blitz, and somebody should have picked up Eric Brock.
Pat Sims gets credit for the tackle and the sack. He has 1.5 on the night. He only had 2 all year coming in. 3rd and a mile. Upchurch on the draw. Very, very conservative call, but it gets them back in good territory for a field goal try. Nick Saban talking to his quarterback.
I think Joe Pendry, the offensive line coach for Alabama, who is an excellent line coach, has been in coaching for over 40 years. He's going to have to sit down with Antoine Caldwell at halftime and just get him settled down a little bit.
44-yard try for Tiffin. Plenty of leg. but it's wide. Tiffin had made 9 in a row before last week when he had one blocked. That one with the win from 44 yards wide left. And Alabama can't convert on that drive. They're still down by 3.
The most exciting football in America is high school football.
Nobody beats us.
We've got to get the first down.
Starting November 29th on ESPN2, high school football is all business varsity.
Keep your focus on the field.
That's from the same group that brought you that series about Hoover, Alabama, and that powerhouse high school program called two-a-days. Auburn, after dodging the bullet on the field goal try, will take over its own 27. Lester back in at tailback. Gets a couple. That's about it. Here is tonight's Aflac trivia question. Who is the only Auburn starting quarterback to beat Alabama 3 times? 3 times.
Well, Brandon Cox has won twice, and he's hoping to become the second one to do that. Could it be that guy on number 7, Pat Sullivan?
Could be. Won just about everything, including the Heisman Trophy. Lester again.
You know, Brandon Cox, it's interesting because last year in the game against Alabama, he was, numbers-wise, not very good. 6 of 14, 137 yards. He had a couple of interceptions, but he did throw a 23-yard touchdown pass that gave Alabama the lead for good. They ended up winning the game 22-15.
You mean Auburn?
Auburn, yes, thank you. And he said, you know, it was one of the career highlights was that touchdown pass last year against Alabama.
Nobody on this roster has lost to the Crimson Tide. And it's remarkable in this series that anybody can make that kind of statement. Cox, excellent protection. And it's intercepted. Picked off by McClain, the linebacker, and Cox is down. 24-yard return.
McClain came from his backside. He was not looking that direction. He was reading the left side of the field, and McClain came from the other side.
Cox was hit low as he threw. And this crowd is stunned. And it looked like he was hit from the side.
Take a look at the interception. Rolando McClain is the linebacker right here. Now he's going to drop in coverage, and Brandon Cox is going to be looking this way, and he's not going to see Rolando McClain drift in front of his intended receiver. He's reading left, 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 and when he lets go of the ball, he doesn't see McClain slip underneath. And then at the end of the play, after the ball's released, here's the hit he took. Right leg, knee, ankle, grabbing that right knee.
Just to look like he got a helmet on the right side of it.
Blake Field is the backup quarterback right now. A 6'2", 202-pound junior. If Brandon Cox unable to return, that's who we'll see. But a big-time turnover for Alabama. An excellent field position for John Parker Wilson with 50 seconds left in the half and all 3 timeouts. So no time to panic for Alabama with all 3 of those timeouts.
Can they take advantage? Glenn Coffey is the tailback. Wilson throws underneath and got it to his backup tight end Travis McCall, but he can't go anywhere because Blackman is there.
See, now, that's a play John Parker Wilson needs to throw away. I mean, if you're not going to get the ball down the field, don't make that completion. Throw it out of bounds, stop the clock, and then go back in the huddle and call a different play.
check in with Reese.
All right, guys, coming up on the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report, we'll show you what happens when 3 overtimes not quite enough. Tim Tebow continues to rack up unbelievable numbers. We'll show you the latest from the Gators quarterback in their rivalry game against Florida State. And the latest on the border showdown, Missouri and Kansas winner trying to get to the Big 12 championship game. Lou and Mark are alongside. We'll see you guys in just a bit.
All right, Reese, we have 37 seconds to go in the half here. Alabama already within field goal range. The question for Auburn right now, what about Brandon Cox?
Well, the good news is they're 37 seconds away from halftime, so they'll have an extended period of time to evaluate and check him out before they may have to make that decision.
He's up. John Parker Wilson flushed out of the pocket on the run, throws. And the tight end down at the 11-yard line, Nick Walker, gang tackled there with 24 seconds to go, and they call a timeout. We'll be back to Auburn in just a moment. John Parker Wilson will throw for the end zone. Hall tipped it up in the air, and it's intercepted by Gerard Powers. Trying to get Hall in the game, and John Parker Wilson threw what looked like a great pass, and it looked like Hall had it.
Hall had no catches before then. It is a good pass. He took his eyes off of it at the last minute. He didn't secure the catch, and Gerard Powers just kept fighting for the football. Looked like he had it. He didn't secure it, and Gerard Powers with an outstanding interception. But that ball should have been caught for a touchdown by Alabama.
Powers had enough of a fingertip in between the hands of Hall to tip the ball in the air. Got his 4th interception of the year, probably the biggest one of his career.
Against Auburn's bench, that is their first one.
All right, here's the answer to tonight's trivia question. Who's the only Auburn starting quarterback to beat Alabama 3 times? The answer, easier than you might think. You just have to go back a couple of years because it's Jason Campbell. If you'd been paying attention, we told you 5 years in a row they have won. So logically, you didn't have to go back too far. Here's Holly.
Guys, the initial examination on Brandon Cox looks positive. They let him get up. He's stretching his knee on the sideline. Usually if they feel a torn ligament after that test, they do not allow him to do that. They'll reevaluate him at the half, guys.
Well, they send him back out here to take a knee. So they have to be pretty well convinced that he's all right. Auburn takes a knee, and they will take a 3-point lead into the locker room.
Alabama down there twice. 1 missed field goal and 1 interception. Down 3.
Here's Holly.
Coach, initially your defense looked like they had John Parker Wilson stopped on a touchdown, but they gave it to him. What did you think?
Well, they guessed it making the call down there. That wasn't a very good call, I didn't think. But, you know, the replay can't – we don't have a shot on the goal line. But, you know, that's part of it. We got to play better on offense. We kind of shut it down after the first quarter. We got to do a better job second half.
How did you shut it down?
Well, they made plays, and we didn't. You know, they started blitzing from the corners, and we didn't protect very well. We gave up a couple sacks, so we got to do a little bit better in protection this half.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Holly. Our halftime score is Auburn 10, Alabama. Join Reese Davis for the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report.
All right, Mike, never short on intensity between Alabama and Auburn. Glad to have you with us. And plenty of intensity in the border showdown for the big.
That's going to determine the outcome of this game.
Alabama missed a field goal in the second quarter, which could have tied this game. Auburn will have a chance to go on offense first. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Hey guys, I spoke with Nick Saban at the half. I asked him about those problems we saw on the offensive line in the first half. He said there won't be any personnel changes, including Antoine Caldwell, who's playing right tackle. But he did say they'll make some adjustments. He was very quiet about it. I kind of teased him and said, come on, Coach, just give me one adjustment. He said, all right, how about we just got to block better up front. The really good news, though, Brandon Cox for Auburn appears to be fine with that right knee.
All right, thanks, Holly. Good field position for Auburn. They start from the 41. Lester, the tailback. Cox under pressure. Got away. And Brandon Cox will complete that one to Stewart up at the 46-yard line. Keith Saunders had a shot at him from the backside, somehow missed him.
Yeah, this went from about a 12-yard loss to a gain of about 5 or 6. Saunders not able to wrap up Brandon Cox. Again, he's not the most elusive guy, but he does just enough on that play to turn a negative into a positive.
Initially, he avoided a 250-pound splatter and then even turned it into a positive play. Lester got some blocking in front, takes it outside. 45, 42-yard line, first down Auburn.
A great cut, too.
His center, Jason Bosley, got out there and threw him a good block.
Yeah, Bosley's going to get a block, and Montez Billings, number 84, wide receiver, is going to get a good block on Kareem Jackson, and then Brad Lester just sets him up. He dips in. That caused Kareem Jackson to step inside, and they showed that burst getting to the corner.
Boy, when Jackson did that, he just gave him the corner.
Yep, sure did. He's a freshman. Saw him do that in the game last week against Louisiana Monroe. Lose leverage, freshman mistake.
Cox, another short set after a play fake. Throws complete to Smith, and Smith picks up about 9 yards. Kareem Jackson on the coverage. He made the tackle.
Now, Holly mentioned the good news for Auburn, having Brandon Cox back in the game and healthy. The other good news for Auburn is in this series, the team leading at halftime has won 73% of the time. So if you're into that kind of numbers, which I know some guys in this booth are, like the numbers.
Oh, I love numbers. Lester dragged back after he has the first down inside the Alabama 30-yard line. It was the middle linebacker Rolando McClain who was in on the tackle again. McClain's had a big night.
Rolando McClain is a true freshman who started out the season, was one of the few true freshmen ever to start on defense for Alabama. And then along the way, he kind of hit the wall a little bit, and Prince Hall has moved into the starting lineup, but McClain playing a lot again tonight. It's a long season for a guy right out of high school.
Yes, it is. 10 tackles and a pick. Pretty good performance in the Iron Bowl. Lester on the toss. Boy, that was a good play by Simeon Castile. Came up from the corner.
And that was the difference between a senior corner and a freshman corner, because he never lost that leverage. He stayed outside. He forced the runner inside where there was help. And the couple plays before, we saw Kareem Jackson take too much of an inside move and give up the outside of the defense.
His dad was a great player.
Yeah. And his brother was an excellent fullback for Alabama. Tim Castile played. They played together for a few years.
Lester out of the eye. Stewart is the blocking back in front of him. Good play fake by Cox, and Cox had Lester wide open, and he missed him.
Sure did. Again, the shifts and the movement.
I mean Stewart.
Yeah. The shifts and the movements created a little uncertainty for the Alabama defense. And watch the fullback 32 slip right out in between Mustin and Rolando McClain, and Brandon Cox just not able to get him the football. Well, that was a well-conceived, well-designed play, just not executed properly.
As a former quarterback, sometimes those guys are so wide open, it's a harder throw, isn't it?
And when they're wide open, you got to
aim it?
No, throw right at them. Just throw right at them. Even if you stop and catch it, that's better than trying to be perfect with it. Alabama with a lot of folks around the line of scrimmage. That's why Brandon Cox is changing the play here.
Got one-on-one on the outside, tries a little turn-in pass, and it's incomplete, intended for Montez Billings. Kareem Jackson on the coverage. These two teams, no matter what the records, are always going to go tooth and nail in this one. The 72nd renewal of Auburn, Alabama. It's the Iron Bowl, and Auburn going for its 6th straight victory. They have never won 6 in a row in this series.
And if they would win, Tommy Tuberville will have beaten 4 different Alabama head coaches in the Iron Bowl. That's kind of amazing,
That's
too.
Good. Byram has already hit from 37. This is from 43. It's got a hook, and it doesn't.
Well, both teams now with a missed field goal, and it's still a 3-point game.
We expected a tight one, and we have it. 11:57 to go, third quarter. It's a 3-point game. ESPN's college football primetime available on ESPN HD, presented by Pioneer Kuro HD TV. This is not a good statistic if you're Alabama. They have lost 8 straight games in the month of November. And that's when you have to win games.
And those 3 that they did win of their last 16 were all against the same team, Mississippi State.
But not this year.
No.
Auburn, gang tackle. Gain of maybe a yard for Glenn Coffey. Etheridge led the charge from his safety spot.
Holly Rowe was reporting to us during that last break. A little bit of a depth problem for Auburn on defense now. Chris Evans, number 59, who was their leading tackler and a starting linebacker. He's been banged up, and he didn't start the game tonight. They started Merrill Johnson, but they expected Evans to be back able to play, but not able to go anymore tonight. So down depth-wise at linebacker.
John Parker Wilson on the slant to Nikita Stover, has it at the 35-yard line. Jonathan Wilhite made the tackle.
John Parker Wilson has not looked particularly sharp tonight. His first completion there to a wide receiver. Auburn has kind of shut down the outside passing game of Alabama. 5 of 10, 39 yards. But again, you just got to wait for those opportunities. And when the opportunity presents itself, you got to step up and make a play.
Third and about a yard and a half. Diving for it, the fullback Stewart. He's not going to be there. I thought you made a great distinction early in the year with John Parker Wilson. When they played against Arkansas and he was going against man-to-man, he just torched them.
Yeah.
But against the zone, he hasn't been that effective. Neither have his receivers.
And Auburn is primarily a zone defensive team. They like to line up with those 2 deep safeties, and they roll to a lot of different coverages out of that same look, but most of them are zone coverages.
Well, John Parker Wilson was lingering on the field that time. He looked like he wanted to go for it.
No, you got to punt the football.
Have to send on Fitzgerald. Dunn is back high, but very short. And Dunn's going to let it go down to 32. A kick of only 32 yards. So Auburn, which could have been pinned deep in their own territory, will have pretty decent field position when we come back.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Dodge. Live life to the fullest. Dodge. Grab life. And Clean Exchange, the only electric shaver with a disposable head. Clean Exchange, new from Remington.
Shot at Toomer's Corner from the Blimp tonight. The Bloomin' Onion one. Downtown Auburn, Alabama. Just a beautiful little city.
I'll guarantee if Auburn wins, it'll look different with all the toilet paper. That's quite a sight to behold. If you've ever been here for an Auburn home game and they win, they decorate.
Outback Steakhouse, proud sponsor of the Outback Bowl, providing all those aerial shots tonight. Lester on the toss sweep. Plows forward to the 37-yard line. They've run very well on first down in particular, which sets up their offense. Lester's done a good job as well.
Both of these teams very similar in the sense that they are not built to just be drop back pass teams exclusively. They must run the football to set up play action pass and to protect their quarterback. That's why you just keep pounding away even though you're not breaking off big time runs.
Lester again to the 40. Let's check in with Reese on the Kansas-Missouri matchup.
Guys, it looks as if Missouri is headed toward the Big 12 championship game, up 14-0. Kansas, which all season long is taking care of the football. Todd Reesing had thrown only 4 interceptions all year. Picked off for the second time tonight off the deflection. Caston Bridges going the other way. And Missouri just paid it off with a touchdown, extra point pending. It's 20-0.
Well, we're not surprised by anything this year, are we?
I'll tell you the one thing, I think Missouri, even though they had the one loss, played a much tougher schedule than Kansas. Kansas undefeated, no Oklahoma, no Texas on their schedule.
Cox, look out from behind. Hit just as he threw.
Pursued by Wallace Gilberry, who has had a big-time year for Alabama.
Yes,
he is one of the fun guys to watch in college football because he's listed at 6'3", 267, which means he's really about 6'2", 255. But he plays much bigger than his size is. I mean, he's had 9 sacks, 12 pressures, 22 tackles behind the line of scrimmage this season, and he just looks like a guy who shouldn't be able to make those kind of plays.
Yeah, but he does.
He sure does. Plays with a lot of heart.
And it's hard to sack either one of these quarterbacks with those short drops and getting rid of the ball in a hurry. Low. There was a block in the back, no flag. The Auburn crowd reacting to a 7-yard return. Let's take a look at the ESPNU All-State Standings review. And you've got a team like Ohio State. They're done, which may be the safest place to be, being at home and watching everybody else lose. LSU and that shocker, they're gone. Yeah, Kansas and Missouri, the survivor, and West Virginia are in the best shape right now.
Yeah, the question, too, for LSU, how far down will they go?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to go a fairly significant amount. But you're right about Ohio State. They're in the clubhouse watching, but still it's going to be difficult for them to pass a couple of those teams ahead of them if those teams keep winning.
Well, we'll be in Morgantown, West Virginia next Saturday night when they play Pitt, their arch rival, and the Mountaineers, if they take care of business, should be one of the 2 teams in a national championship game. John Parker Wilson throws complete up to the 29-yard line. That won't get him a whole lot. Threw it to Coffey coming out of the backfield, and Patrick Lee was over there on coverage. So many teams have been left for dead this year. Then 3 or 4 are upset in the same weekend, and they get a second chance. Most years they don't get those second chances. Alabama's only thrown 1 pass over 10 yards in this game. Auburn showing blitz. The toss to Coffey, and Blackman shot the gap and made the tackle. This kid's an athlete, isn't he?
Sure is. Really is.
Been bothered by a bad ankle most of the year. We saw him last year, too. And when he wasn't injured, he was always a huge factor in the ballgame. 3rd and 5 as we hit the 7-minute mark in the 3rd quarter. And the Auburn crowd at home trying to pump up the defense. John Parker Wilson.
Beautiful throw.
Stop fade, wasn't it ever?
I'm impressed you know the name of that route, the stop fade. I like that. That must have been your work with Theismann. Did he teach you that?
He taught me all of them. I learned the passing tree and all that stuff.
That's good, though, and that's exactly right. A perfectly thrown ball by John Parker Wilson to the back shoulder of the receiver. Defender has no chance. If this ball's thrown in the right spot, no way to stop and make the play. Thrown to the back shoulder perfectly. Nikita Stover with the catch.
1st and 10, Alabama at their own 47. Coffey across midfield. I was just going to say the same thing. That's almost unfair to a defensive back because he had great position, but like you said, he had no chance.
Yeah, well, first of all, he has no idea that throw's coming. So he has to keep that position to run deep with the receiver. The receiver knows he's going to stop and when he's going to stop. And then if the quarterback throws it like that, you do have no chance.
Crowd getting a little anxious as Alabama has inched into Auburn territory. 2nd and 6. Coffey has been the workhorse. Tripped over his his own man and still got down to the 42-yard line, right about at the sticks. Feast Week continues on ESPN. Tomorrow night we'll have the Big 12 Pac-10 Hardwood Series as the Arizona Wildcats take on number 4 Kansas. The Big 12 Pac-10 Hardwood Series, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's on ESPN. Tomorrow night at 8 Eastern. And boy, with all the early season matchups, basketball just pumped up already. Been some great games. It is a first down for Alabama. They go back to the I. John Parker Wilson under pressure and throws it into the ground.
Looking for the screen, it appeared to Coffey. Quick pressure on the outside forced the play to get abandoned. And
that's legal decision. As far as as long as there's a receiver there, that's legal to do. And he did have tight end Travis McCall there. Doesn't look good, but it's legal.
Yeah, but you got to avoid a sack there. I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen to Alabama in that situation. After you've got some momentum, you're driving the football, you're in Auburn territory, don't take a negative play.
Especially the way this offense is built. You can't overcome those things. Coffee on the draw.
There's Blackman again.
Well, you can always tell it's him.
Yeah, because when he hits you, you go backwards. I mean, he is just a guy who loves contact and loves that straight ahead, head-on collision. Here he is right here. Watch him meet the back right here and watch Glenn Coffey go backward. Now, some guys shy away from this kind of hit. Trey Blackman lives for it. He runs right through ball carriers.
You could take his name and his number off, and you'd still know when he made the tackle.
Yeah.
Third and long. Blitz coming. Everybody's coming, and John Parker Wilson throws incomplete. Would have been well short of a first down. Wilhite hit DJ Hall just as the ball got there, and Wilhite is still down. Boy, they sent everybody in the kitchen sink after John Parker Wilson.
Well, third down and long. You get right into a situation where a defensive coordinator like Will Muschamp or like a Nick Saban loves to get you in. Some creative type of pressures. It's not necessarily a wholesale blitz because you've got linemen dropping off into coverage. And you're right, if DJ Hall catches this, it's well short anyway. And the ball thrown high and behind him to begin with.
It's one of those tricky little crossing routes which can result in picks all the time. And Wilhite did a really good job of covering up Hall. Dunn is deep.
Great punt there.
Got a very fortunate bounce as well. Burning wood and lots of meat. Sounds like Todd's Taste of the Town is coming up. How did he get his picture on the wall already? Could have gotten credit for that block.
Well, that happened twice.
Yeah,
I mean, Alabama was winning 16-3 in that game, and Bill Newton blocked 2 punts, both of them returned by David Langer for the touchdown, and they won 17-16.
Cox under pressure, throws from the end zone and throws it out of bounds.
Tell you what, I've been impressed with the Alabama defense ever since that opening drive when Auburn went right down the field in 12 plays and scored, and Holly gave that report that Nick Saban talked to his defense about, hey, they're only shifting a couple guys, let's not get freaked out, let's recognize what we're supposed to do. Ever since then, I think this Alabama defense has settled down and played extremely well.
Cox has only hit 2 of his last 7 passes, by the way, and only 14 yards over that span.
Even though Auburn has a 3-point lead, the game kind of feels like the momentum is a little bit more on the Alabama side.
It does. Cox throws this one underneath. That's going to be a minimum gain as Kareem Jackson wraps up Montez Billings. Good news for Alabama, by the way, tonight. South Carolina loses, so that improves their bowl possibilities. They may be seen as a more attractive candidate than South Carolina with 6 wins.
Big play right here for Alabama's defense. Want to maintain this field possession advantage after the good punt.
Cox again throws underneath. Billings trying to get the first down out to the 16-yard line. He was very close to it, then retreated a step, and he doesn't have it.
He had it, and then he lost it. He tried to make a bigger play instead of just securing the first down.
And boy, you've got to know where you are and what the situation is.
You have to catch that ball and turn north and south right away and get yourself 4 more downs.
Let's go to Holly.
Guys, problems developing for Alabama right now. Matt Caddell is out there trying to return this punt because their regular punt returner, Jonathan Lowe, has been taken to the locker room with a right ankle injury. Javier Arenas also out, so they're down to the bare bones on special team returns.
Well, he's the 3rd one on that depth chart. The low line drive. And out of bounds. There's a flag down back at the 3.
Yeah, Chris Rogers, number 8, ran into the kicker.
And on 4th and 1, that'll be enough for a first down.
Well, we've seen both teams have special teams errors. Both teams have missed field goals, and now both teams have run into the punter and given the ball back to the offense. There's no such thing as being blocked into the kicker in college football. It's your responsibility to avoid the contact. It wasn't roughing, but it was enough to give him a first down.
No, it was closer to touching than roughing, but that's the rule.
And in both cases, with both teams, the problem is that you go right at the punter. You've got to go to the spot where the ball is supposed to be coming off the foot, not the punter's body.
So that's a huge break. Instead of having the ball just outside the 40, they let Tate get another crack at it. He's up to the 38-yard line, a gain of 18. Here's Reese Davis.
All right, Mike, you said that South Carolina lost. Here's how it happened. 34-yard field goal attempt. Buck Holt splits the uprights. He came up a little short last week against BC, but not this time. South Carolina finishes 6-6. South Carolina wins it by 2. Missouri on top of Kansas. Jayhawks on the board about halfway through the 3rd on ABC.
Auburn. And boy, you could almost feel the momentum shift after that. Cox, play action, in trouble, wants it back to Tate, and underthrown because of the pressure.
Underthrown because of the pressure, and also Wallace Gilberry reading that play late and getting out there just enough in the way to disrupt the play. I mean, it's a throwback to Tate. It's kind of a trick play, but the pressure forces the throw, but Wallace Gilberry on the backside of the defense did his job and stayed at home and enough to affect the play.
A minute 59 left in the 3rd quarter. Ben Tate is the deep man in the eye on 2nd and 10. Tate, couple of yards, that's it. You just get the feeling a turnover is going to decide this game. Here's Holly.
Well, guys, Wallace Gilberry continues to impress on Alabama's defense. He's had 37 consecutive starts, and guys, we talked about it earlier, he may not pass the eye test as far as size and speed for a prototypical defensive end, but he leads the SEC in sacks this year, and his defensive coordinator, Kevin Steele, says, I don't know what it is about this guy. He just has this fire inside of him. He said, sometimes we're watching film, and I am shocked by the plays he's able to make. It's all want to with this kid.
And Holly, he also has 69 tackles. He's number 2 on the team, and that's highly unusual for a defensive lineman. Trying to get that first down. It looks like they're just a hair short.
But this time Billings had a better idea what he needed to do for the first down. Tried to take that catch and go north and south. Alabama came with pressure, but even though Auburn's got to punt the football, the fact that they got the roughing the punter and got the ball back, now they can flip field position.
Exactly.
Alabama stood to have great field position after the punt. Now Auburn has a chance to pin them back. And in a game like this, a 3-point game, that is huge.
Cadell back again as the punt returner. Signals fair catch, goes back, lost the ball.
Should have never caught it in the first place. Again, you're down to your third punt returner, as Holly reported. Arenas, one of the best in the SEC, out with a high ankle sprain. Jonathan Lowe hurts his ankle. And now here's Cadell. Should have let that one go. Let it bounce into the end zone. Very fortunate that he kicked it out of bounds. But Alabama with horrible field position.
That's just lack of experience. He makes a cardinal error for a kick returner and then kicks it out of bounds at the 1.
I mean, the rule of thumb, and I was never a punt returner, but I know you put your heels on the 10-yard line, and if that ball is anywhere behind you, you let it go and hope that it bounces into the end zone.
Talk about a turn in field position.
My goodness.
Coffee just trying to get a little breathing room, and a little is all they got. We told you we'd have Todd's Taste of the Town. It is coming up. The man who is trying to eat his way into SEC history will be back with that as we go to the fourth quarter in a 3-point game. Presented by Hampton Hotels. If you're in the state of Alabama or anywhere in this country or in Iraq with the 1203rd Engineering Battalion in Balad, we're out of Dothan, Alabama. Auburn and Alabama fans both enjoying it from Iraq tonight. Alabama backed up to its own 4-yard line on second down. It'll be third down now from the 5. Field position so critical with two teams like this. Here's Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, the most explosive weapon for Alabama, DJ Hall, has been on the sideline for an extended period here, guys. He's in a lot of pain. I'm told he has a previous thigh or hamstring injury. He's been on the bike trying to loosen it up. He's been stretching. He's clearly not at full speed, and right now, not in the game, guys. Not sure if he can go.
Remember his last play, he had to reach back for that ball, and he was hit by Jonathan Wilhite. Might have aggravated that injury even more.
They need to reach the 11 for a first down. How conservative are you down here? Back to throw, airs it out down the sideline and too far for Stover. He was covered like a blanket by Wilhite. Let's check in with Reese, SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
All right, Mike, got plenty of news both on and off the field in college football. A couple of coaches get fired on this Saturday. Nebraska ends the Bill Callahan era after 4 years, and Orgeron won't get a fourth year at Ole Miss after going 0-8 in the SEC. Tennessee is going to play in the SEC championship game. It took 4 overtimes, but the Volunteers beat Kentucky for the 23rd straight time. SportsCenter after the game.
All right, thank you, Reese. This is Robert Dunn, and he's out of bounds.
And just when they needed it, P.J. Fitzgerald with his best punt of the night for Alabama, 46 yards. Dunn actually dropped the football and had to retreat a few yards. And just when it looked like Auburn would have field position on the Alabama side of the 50, Fitzgerald bails him out with a bomb.
Well, ever since Mississippi made the mistake with David Cutcliffe, things have not gone well in Oxford. Auburn will start on its side of the 50, and they've got Tate as the running back. Cox trying to win his third straight as a starter, will pick up 8 yards on the run. Keith Saunders made the tackle. Brandon Cox, the longest run he's had as his senior year is almost over, was 11 yards. That one was 8.
But that was 8 tough yards and a smart decision to pull that ball down and go straight ahead. Get what you can get.
100 yards throwing tonight. Tate leans forward. Looks like he has another first down. Mustin makes the tackle.
Now you talk about a quarterback's legacy, a guy like Brandon Cox. You say, well, Auburn didn't win an SEC championship while he was here, or, you know, he didn't lead him to a national championship. But if he leaves this place having beaten Alabama 3 times, his legacy is pretty secure in the state of Alabama. I mean, and if he ever comes back to Auburn, I don't think he'll have to buy a ticket to a game.
Well, he'll be like you. He'll be able to get a free meal anywhere. Never have to pay for dinner for the rest of his life. Cox on a roll, throws incomplete. Good defense by Rashad Johnson. May have gotten a piece of that as Cox was trying to work his receiver toward the sideline. Here are the numbers on Cox. 3rd in passing yards, 3rd in touchdown passes, 4th in wins. That's a pretty decent legacy.
It really is. And you know, when we talked to Al Borges, his offensive coordinator, he said, you know, his senior year, Brandon Cox, it wasn't what he hoped for, and it wasn't what Brandon hoped for, but he's really proud of the way that he overcame the bad start, even being benched at one point early in the season, and hung in there and finished strong down the stretch.
2nd down. Throw sideline, and Smith will make the catch at the 38-yard line. Here's Holly with more on Brandon Cox.
You know, Brandon Cox said this week that win or lose this game, he had set and exceeded many of the goals he set for himself when he came to Auburn. He said, I've been a starting quarterback in the SEC for 3 years, and let's not forget, we've told this story many times over the years, but he has overcome a debilitating disease, myasthenia gravis. It's a neuromuscular condition where he has to take medication every single day. It's aggravated by stress, but guys, he's managed it, he's overcome it, and he's been a 3-year starter.
How calm do you have to be if it's aggravated by stress and you're a starting quarterback in the SEC to be able to handle that? Here comes the blitz. And Cox does the smart thing, throws it into the ground in front of Montez Billings.
Alabama, even though Nick Saban and Will Muschamp work together, there's a difference in style. Alabama, this is Nick Saban's kind of defense. He believes in a lot of pressure. Put your corners on an island, play more man-to-man defense, and bring lots of pressure. Will Muschamp has become a little bit more of a zone-oriented defensive coordinator here. I think a lot of that has to do with Tommy Tuberville's influence as well.
Shoemaker to kick. Lowe is back on the field. Straight up the shaft and a fair catch of the 12. Time now for Todd's Taste of the Town.
Whenever I do a game in Auburn, my first stop is Byron's Smokehouse. Now, Byron's is a place that was opened in 1989 by a guy named Byron Gullidge and his son Glenn and his wife Stephanie. Originally, it was a little old place down the road that was primarily a carryout place. 5 years ago, they moved into a much bigger place, and on a football weekend, they'll serve nearly 700 pounds of meat.
700 pounds. Yikes. We'll see what's on the menu in just a second. Just inside the 13 is where Alabama will take over. And the toss to Upchurch, who's in on this series. And let's see what's on the menu this afternoon for Todd.
You've heard of a meat lover's pizza? Well, Byron's is a meat lover's paradise for a guy like me. Thanks, Aubrey. I mean, look at this. I've got chicken, I've got ribs, I've got some sausage and some shredded pork with some hot sauce on it. This is how we roll, baby.
Was that enough meat for you?
Yeah, it was. It actually was. It filled me up. Yeah. I'll tell you what, they got great stuff there. I love Byron's. And, you know, Byron's granddaughter, Aubrey, made a big plate of cookies for me to bring to the booth. And I don't know where they all went. You know, somehow between getting them from the hotel to here, I lost about half of them. But
the doorman at the hotel said, Mr. Blackledge left you a plate of cookies, so we ate them on the way over.
Okay, good. Well, you're going to have the rest, too. You can eat the rest on your way back.
Thank you. John Parker Wilson with a strike down the middle out to the 43 to Brown for a first down gain of 19. That's his best throw of the night.
Well, it all starts with that first run by Upchurch, and then they go play action. And John Parker Wilson with a beautiful throw. Good timing, but again, the running game sets up the passing game, and a wide receiver making a play for Alabama. They have been so quiet tonight. Keith Brown with a big catch right there.
Brown with his first catch of the night, the 98th catch of his career. Boy, Upchurch gets to that hole in a hurry.
Yeah, they've had a nice little mix with Upchurch and Coffey running the football. Again, kind of mysterious why we haven't seen Terry Grant at all, but these two guys have more than adequately carried the football.
Taste of the Town has become such a sensation tonight. I'll repeat this because we said it in the first half. When we had Nick Saban on a conference call, the first thing he asked, not about this series and being the first-year coach in the Alabama-Auburn series, he wanted to know where Todd was going to have lunch. John Parker Wilson under pressure, throws too high, just touched by Nick Walker. And if you want to see any of the previous installments of Todd's Taste of the Town, you can find them all at ESPN.com by searching for Taste of the Town, and then you'll get another panel. Just click on Gravy, and they will give you all the recipes. And there was a holding call.
Yeah. You know, the other thing that I'm seeing with John Parker Wilson, now we didn't see it on the throw to Keith Brown, but you know, that's about the fourth time I've seen him tonight where there's some pressure coming and he's backing up, he's moving his feet, he's not setting his feet.
10-yard penalty, remains second down.
Pretty tough to throw off your back foot.
Well, it's tough to be accurate. It's tough to get down on the football, and the ball tends to sail on you, and that particular throw really sailed on John Parker Wilson. You got to stick that foot in the ground, and if you get hit, you get hit, but deliver a ball on target.
2nd and 16. Upchurch. Really a conservative call.
Well, in this game, I mean, both coaches know that their defenses are playing well.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do something to put their defenses in a bind. They want to play field position. They want to play smart. And they want to hope that they can force a turnover from the other guy and make one play to win the game.
You're not going to get many more chances, though.
No, you're right.
Clock's running.
This is one of the faster games that we've ever done.
Yes, it is. When you run it this much, it really shortens the game. 3rd and 11. Blitz coming. Hit from behind and just got rid of it. He was drilled by Sinderic Marks, who got a great jet start off the outside.
And Quentin Groves also, who had a couple of big sacks last year. Groves is standing up. He's the first guy to get there. Puts the hit in the back.
Yes, he did.
And he just ran right around the left tackle, Andre Smith, who's their best lineman, but was not in good position to block the speed rush of Groves.
Groves, who has a tremendous personality, has been bothered all year by 3 dislocated toes. He cannot push off of that foot. It has been so tough for him. He's a kid who plays hard all the time. Here's Dunn. Punter to beat. Taken down at the 43. Huge play for Auburn. 33-yard return of a 34-yard punt for Robert Dunn.
ESPN salutes the Southeastern Conference. 75 years of excellence in collegiate athletics.
Somebody must have told everyone in the conference that the 75th anniversary year, every game had to be close. 18 games in the conference decided by 6 points or fewer. We're working on another one here tonight. It's 10-7. Auburn takes over at the 44. Lester picks up almost 5.
We're going to go back to this punt return, 33 yards by Dunn. Now just watch. Why do you have starters on your special teams? Because you want them to make good decisions. Patrick Lee, number 20, with a big-time block, and Gerard Powers, the other starting corner, number 8, chose not to block in the back. Just his decision not to try to block. Patrick Lee's decision to get the good block opened things up for Dunn, and Auburn in great field position.
In a game like this, even an additional field goal could be huge. Touchdowns have not been easy to come by. Lester, maybe a yard on that one. Wallace Gilberry on the stop. It'll be a big 3rd down.
And if you're Alabama, I mean, you obviously are thinking stop right here, but worst case scenario for you has to be a field goal. If you give up a touchdown here to Auburn with 7:40 and the clock running, not sure you're going to score twice to come back and win this game.
If you're a quarterback right now, you're thinking, I'd love to have a deep shot. Just one. One wide receiver. Toss to Lester. Cuts it back, has the 1st down and more.
Well, that's just good running by Lester, because they shifted to try to outflank the Alabama defense. Alabama responded by getting enough defenders over there, and this is just Lester just making people miss. Just kind of getting small behind those linemen, and when he saw a little crease, shooting through there for the 1st down.
16 carries, 70 yards for Lester, who was averaging 4.2 coming into this game per carry. Now he's out of the eye. Alabama may have jumped. Could be a free play for Cox. Smith off his foot. He caught it out of bounds.
Yeah, you're right. Brandon Cox knew he had a free play. Take a shot down the field. There haven't been many throws down the field for Auburn.
That could have been spectacular. Yeah. And it looked like Mustin was offside.
This one step into the neutral zone by Mustin.
Oh. Kick save and a beauty. So it's 1st and 5 instead. Rodriguez Smith been very quiet tonight, the leading receiver on the club with 45 catches coming in. Auburn now within field goal range, and time becoming a huge factor. 6:49 to go in this ball game.
A huge factor, and I think if for both teams, and for Auburn right now, you're thinking, okay, keep our momentum, keep our same normal rhythm, but let's also know that the more we can run this clock off, the more duress we're going to put on Alabama. Whether we come away from this drive with a field goal or hopefully a touchdown, we also want to use as much time as we possibly can.
Byram keeping that leg warm. He's made one and missed one tonight. 6:10 to go. Cox. Quick out. Diving for a 1st down, his tight end Cole Bennett. 3 catches tonight for the big tight end.
Well, they've moved these tight ends around all night, reshifting, resetting. 87. Bennett, not one of the top receivers, 6 catches coming into the ball game tonight, but a nice little route on the flat arrow route. And Brandon Cox gets rid of the ball quickly, and Bennett gets Auburn another 1st down.
Clock stops while they move the chains. It'll restart, and we'll be down to 6 minutes. Trot is in there, so is Bennett. 2 tight ends set. Tate, the tailback. And Auburn loving every second of this, and Tate is just drilled as he came to the line of scrimmage. Heck of a play by Darren Mustin, and here's Holly.
Guys, this is the first time I've covered the Iron Bowl, and I was expecting all kinds of emotion, chest pumping, all this craziness down here. But what it feels like is a very serious, business-like atmosphere on the Alabama sideline right now. Guys are very focused. There's not many outbursts of emotion at all. Instead of like a heavyweight fight, what it feels like right now is a 10,000-meter race. Who's going to have the kick at the end to win this ball game?
Well, Holly, that's a great example. I agree with you, too. We're getting close to the end of that 10,000 meters. It's time for somebody to start a finishing kick. Cox avoids the sack and throws it away.
This is going to be a roughing the quarterback, though. A dumb decision at the end of the play by Keith Saunders. The ball was thrown away by Brandon Cox. He's just getting rid of it to avoid the sack. And unnecessarily, Keith Saunders is going to hit him right by the Auburn sideline, no less. Boy,
what a horrible time to make a stupid mistake.
Very, very costly. Second and long. It's going to be third and long.
94 defense. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
It could not have come at a worse time. This would have been 3rd and 12 if he just runs away from this. Instead, right in front of the Auburn bench and the screaming Auburn coaches, you knock the senior quarterback down, and that has to draw the flag.
Wasn't much, but it was enough.
And it was in the wrong place.
Yeah, it sure was.
It was in the wrong place.
That's the 4th penalty against Alabama. Auburn has not been flagged tonight. It's a new set of downs. 1st and goal. Mark the ball just outside the 8. Lester powers his way down to the 2. And the Alabama defense has got to stand tall right now. If they give up a touchdown, they're in deep stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Ran to the left side behind left guard Tyrone Green. Ryan Pugh, the left tackle, one of those 3 true freshmen in there playing, getting the crowd fired up. And you're right, if Auburn can stick this one in the end zone, very, very difficult for Alabama.
An extra blocker in the backfield. Billings, the motion man. Lester. Touchdown! This will be reviewed, though. It looked like he landed short of the goal line.
It looked like he landed and then reached the ball out. The ball did cross the plane. My only question was he down before he reached the ball over the goal line?
I think he was.
Hard charge by Lester. Mustin, the first one there. I don't know.
The ball almost bounces into the end zone. I think the lineman was blocked by Pugh.
Well, was he on the ground or was he on top of one of his or one of Alabama's players? No, I think
he's short.
He was. His shoulder with the ball hit the ground before the ball bounced over the goal line. And by the time the line judge saw it, he saw the ball across the goal line. Be interesting to see if they overturn that.
Well, the last shot was the best one. It shows the ball bouncing short of the goal line. Now watch the ball hit. You can see the stripe. And it's short of it. Then the ball bounces and he reaches it out. That ball is well short, at least the length of a ball short of the goal line. And it would bring up 3rd down and goal.
3rd down inside the 1.
It's maybe nothing but a temporary reprieve, but you take your shots when you can.
I guarantee you, if you're Nick Saban, you're hoping this goes in your way, because even the fact that they have to snap the football another down is a chance for you to make something happen.
Yeah, when the governor calls, you want to answer the phone just in case. Call on the field was a touchdown, so it has to be conclusive to overturn it.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The runner was down at about
Well, the crowd hates it, but that's a great call by the officials, and that's why you have instant replay, and that's why in college you review every play, because that's what you should do to get it right.
Now, if Auburn's thinking quarterback sneak for Alabama, you want to just try to time this up, even if you get a penalty, and try to hit the center right as the ball's being snapped. Try to disrupt the exchange between the quarterback and center. Meanwhile, Brandon Cox, the reason they're not out of the huddle, they're running clock. They know they could run 30 more seconds off the clock. Now they come to the line of scrimmage, play clock under 10. Brandon Cox taking his time. They'll probably sneak here.
There goes Cox, touchdown. One of the keys to whether it was going to be a sneak or not is that Lester didn't know where he was supposed to be, and finally he got back at tailback. He wasn't involved in it.
And the fullback was in motion, so if it wasn't a sneak, it wasn't going to work.
If Auburn wins, how appropriate that Brandon Cox would score the final touchdown in his bid to be only the second Auburn quarterback to win 3 straight as the starter against Alabama. And now they have what may be in this game an insurmountable lead. They're up 17-7 on their arch rival.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here. And in part by Mitsubishi Motors, driven to thrill.
17-7 in these great views of Auburn and Jordan-Hare Stadium, courtesy of our friends at Outback Steakhouse. Proud sponsor of the Outback Bowl. The Bloomin' Onion One airship providing all these shots tonight.
We made the point earlier in the game, but how much does Alabama miss Javier Arenas right now and his return ability? 9 returns of 40 yards or more on the season, out